I understand you and Ash are having some marital problems.
Well, we're going on a weekend away. Maybe that will help. We really need to bring the bird.
That's a pretty great view.
I thought you'd like it.
You get the kid. I'll get the parents. And we're up.
What the hell is this?
3 systems, 3 servers, 3 different ISPs. I want you to transfer $10 million into 3 separate accounts.
Do you realize I could do whatever I want to you?
She's here. Don't mess around, she's a trained archer. Shoot to kill.
You know, when Reed gets back, she is going to punish you both big time.
Well, I can get pretty crazy too.
The exciting home invasion heist thriller AVARICE is the latest crowd pleaser from director John V. Soto. It's in Reading cinemas around Australia from December 8, and the man himself joins us from his home in sunny Western Australia. Welcome to Screen Watching, John.
Greetings, Simon. How are you?
I'm good, mate. And I know it's sunny because it's the first day of the cricket test, which I'd much rather be watching, but I've got to sell some AVARICE tickets, so let's start talking. Mate, the film's been rolling out across the world since Cinefest Oz back in August.
Yeah.
You took it to Marseille, didn't you? You're at Cannes.
Oh, I didn't go to Cannes.
No.
Yeah, I didn't get across there. But the sales agent did. So
Yeah.
Epic Pictures took the film there.
They're a good team.
And we had a wonderful response from distributors. So they loved the film, and a number of distributors have acquired it for their territory.
The territories, yeah. I feel a bit late to the AVARICE party, but give the listeners some idea of what the film has in store for them. What's it about?
Okay, so I mean, as you said before, this is a home invasion movie, and it's about a champion archer and her family that they decide to go and have some rest and relaxation at a holiday home in the hills, in like this forest house or house set amongst the forest.
A beautiful location. It's a lovely place.
Yeah, it's amazing location, and while they're there, they're subjected to a vicious home invasion, and it's not the typical home invasion. So normally, with quite a few of the home invasion movies, it's kind of there to there is no ulterior motive in other home invasion movies. It's just to menace and be mean to the victims. But in AVARICE, the bad guys who are ex-soldiers, they've got an ulterior purpose. And they abduct the father. So there's Kate, who's played by Gillian Alexy as the mother. You got Ash, played by Luke Ford, and you've got their daughter Sarah, played by Téa Heathcote-Marks. And the soldiers come in, they break into the house, they tie up the mum and daughter, and they abduct Ash, and they take him back to their warehouse where they are basically planning a heist, and they need his security details to transfer to steal money.
It's a solid framework for a thriller, isn't it? And that's what I find interesting. A lot of the reviews have called it a lean thriller, which to me says that it's got this really solid framework, this really solid narrative framework. It's a film without pretension. It knows what it is and delivers that. And I guess that was your intention going in, but that's sort of the John Soto way, isn't it? They're the kind of movies you make.
Well, yeah. So I do like to have a few twists and turns in the story.
Yeah.
But generally I just love genre films. So I'm a big fan of thrillers, action films, horror films, sci-fi. I just love that stuff. And sometimes you can watch films that are so overly complex that you're halfway through the film and you don't know where you are. So, or there's like enormous logic holes, and you're like, wait a minute, what? Yeah. So, whereas with this, we've stripped it back, and one of the things we've done is we've got we've got a female protagonist and a female antagonist, which I think is unique, and also because there have been other home invasion movies, so there's been The Strangers, which everyone's seen, I'm sure.
Sure.
Obviously, Panic Room, and then there's Funny Games, and there's even The Purge is a home invasion movie.
Yeah, of course.
The original. And quite often, though, in those films, you have the male protagonist Firewall with Harrison Ford. You have the male protagonist who saves the day, and I thought, well, let's have a female protagonist for a change. And I've mentioned this before that one thing I wanted to do was have the heroine not be some like martial arts champion that or some ex-commando or something like that. I just wanted her to be like a normal mum who is a skilled archer. She's got one skill. She's she's good at archery, and she when her family's threatened or under threat, and she breaks free, she uses that skill to take out the bad guys.
Yeah. And it's such a very sort of coolly effective means by which to do that. The bow and the arrow. Was she already skilled in the sport, or was there some sort of extensive training, or did you have an archery, without giving away any of the magic of the movies, or did you have a stand-in archer? How did you make it work? Because they're very convincing scenes.
Yeah. She had extensive training.
Good. Okay, let's go with that.
So we hired we have an archery center here at Whiteman Park, where we shot some of the competition scenes at the start of the film.
Yep.
And she trained there for many weeks, and she got really good. So, but I didn't want to have a stand-in archer. She wanted to be there to do the archery, and we wanted to make it authentic, right down to with the archers, with professional archers, they don't walk around with a bow on their back or anything. They assemble the bow. Yeah. It's a bit of work. It's not easy. If they're good, they can do it in like a minute, 2 minutes.
Wow.
But you've got to put the bow together and string it and everything. So I wanted her to be able to do that. So she got lessons in that and lessons in archery, wearing all the gear. We had a spotter for her, and after the by the time she was about almost finished with the training, she was hitting bullseyes. So she's got a natural talent for archery, which was surprising.
On the film's IMDb page, as you mentioned, it's sold to territories. I think there's like 26 countries where it's found a release. Yeah. And this follows the legitimate global hit you had with The Gateway a few years ago, which played to huge numbers across all sorts of platforms.
Yeah.
Few Australian films find this kind of play around the world. Put on your producer's hat for a moment and tell us about navigating that global marketplace, because I know that's something that a lot of Australian producers and filmmakers aren't overtly good at, but it's something crucial to the whole filmmaking process for you.
Well, the acid test is, can you get a sales agent, a reputable sales agent, to pick up your film? So that's step one. So obviously, step one is writing the script. But once you've got the script, and you've got to have a strong concept that it's high concept. It's got to be a strong concept that that audiences can grasp easily, so the general public can go, oh, okay, it's a woman who's an archer and she takes out some bad guys, in a very crude sort of sense. So it's got to have a strong concept, easy to understand, and you need to get a sales agent, excuse me, who firstly loves the concept and enjoys the script and can see the potential for the film, because they have their fingers on the pulse. They know they are way ahead of the game. A lot of the films that you're seeing now, they were in the works 2 years ago. Most of the films that are out 2 years, 3 years, 4 years ago. So the sales agents are way ahead of the game. And if they respond to the project and they go, oh, this can really work, And then the real acid test is, can they put some money on the line? So if they can't put money down, that's how I look at it. If they can't put an MG down or sales advance down on the film, you know that it's probably not going to do that well. So if they are prepared, they like it, they love the concept, and they go, okay, I'll back this film. I'm going to invest in the movie. Then you know your film is probably going to do well with international distributors, because they know those guys. They see them like at every film market. You know, like our sales agent, Epic. You know, they've probably got at least 1,000 contacts that they meet with over the year, and they're talking to them. What films are working with in your country? What films are working in Austria? What films are working in Japan? And so they know what's happening. So if they they like your film, they're prepared to back it with some money. That's I guess the first thing that gives you an indication it can work. But I think also it comes down to, it really is the subject material.
Right.
So, you know, let's be honest, genre films travel.
Very quickly, that brings me to my next question. And genre film has so many connotations, and you've worked across many of them: the erotic thriller Crush, the supernatural story in Needle, Gateway, we mentioned, sci-fi. You had a detective mystery in The Reckoning. So you very much have an understanding of that arena, of that playing field. But these aren't the sort of movies our funding bodies generally progress to funding phase, are they? What should it be? What's your view of our industry with regard to genre? And are you happy not to play in that sandbox?
Well, I mean, we did get Screen West funding, so I did put funding into the film, and Screen West are very progressive and open-minded, and they're like, you know, they're very much like, is it a good script? Is it entertaining? Will it work? Does it have what's the audience like? And they were the same mind. This can do well, and they backed it. I've never had funding from Screen Australia. I did apply on a couple of films, but had no luck. But that said, I do get their support through the producer offset.
Sure.
So, you know, and that's critical. Now, it was 40%. Unfortunately, the government has dropped it down to 30%. So that's a bit of a blow for the independent producer. But overall, I found them, for myself, they've been very efficient, and you know, they've been open to helping me out with queries on the offset and stuff like that. So that's good. I don't know. I do believe that we need to make more genre films, horror, supernatural, action, sci-fi. Generally, I think we should make more of those, because they work well internationally. They sell well. And I've mentioned this in another interview, which is that, you know, the Australian entertainment market is 4% of I think it's 3% of the global spend. So why would you, I mean, if you want to have a film that lots of people see, why would you just focus on that 3% and make a film that just for Australians? You should be looking internationally. So all my films I look at, honestly, I go, will this work internationally? Would the distributor in the US buy this film? Would they pick it up and release it? And that's kind of how I think. And I do know Screen Australia is actually, they're recognizing that. I can see some of the films they've greenlit. I think there's those brothers, Raka Raka. They've got a horror film made, and I think it's going to do well, and it's going to sell internationally. So So I think the Screen Australia is kind of changing their tune, and they're more open to that. And maybe my next project, I will apply and have some luck. Who knows?
Who knows? Fingers crossed. That'd be great, mate. I guess finally, with 5 films in 13 years, by my calculation, you're getting dangerously close to being a veteran filmmaker. What are the lessons you've learnt from all that time in the trenches? If some young kid came up to you and said, "Mr. Soto, what do I do to make my movie?" What's the first word of advice?
Okay. I've got lots of advice here, but
Okay.
I've learned the hard way. Unfortunately, it's just the way. This is just the industry. It's brutal. The first thing I would say is you really do need to spend time on the script. That's the first thing. You've got to have a good script, a solid script that it's not a script that your mum likes, or your girlfriend likes, or your boyfriend likes. It's got to be a script that, people that are not connected to you will read and go, "Oh, that was great. That was a great read. I really enjoyed that story."
Yeah.
That's the first thing. So you've got to have a good script. Secondly, it's got to have I think, you need to have a good concept that you can explain in a few sentences, not something where you need 3 pages of, explanation for people to understand what it's about. That's the second thing. For young upcoming filmmakers, you need more than 1 script. You need to have about 3 or 4. Okay, so don't write your first script and then go try and get it made, because it probably will be a bad script. You've got to be. I think even for directors, they should be writers. I mean, you've got to be a writer. Otherwise, you just, I think writer directors, they make better films than they're just directors. That's my belief. That'd be an interesting study to look at, but I think writer directors make better films than just guys that pick up scripts that they haven't written. So directors and writers have got to hone their skills writing scripts, and they should aim to have 3 scripts, and perhaps not all like 3 horror films. Maybe one action film, 1 horror film, and one thriller. I don't know. One.
Show your diversity. Show your willingness to work across.
Yeah.
Across sort of stories. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So just spend the time, and the other thing you can do is before you write the script, write an outline. Write an outline, and we all know movies are Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. The 3-act structure. Mm-hmm. A page per act, 3 pages, and get your friends, get people that have got some sort of film industry knowledge to read it and see if that is a film they'd like to see. Because the film about your grandmother's pet, a guinea pig, getting lost in the garden, that's not going to cut it for most people. So
if we can get Joel Edgerton, maybe, who knows?
Yeah, he could play the guinea pig. No, no. Look, I think you talking guinea pig. No, I think you need to write that outline before you write the script. That's probably the best advice I can give. Write the bloody outline and get feedback on the outline before you launch in. Because I wasn't sure. I've been making my first film, Crush, was like 13 years ago, 2008, right? 2009. But I was writing from 2002, so 7 years, and I wrote a number of scripts, and and the mistake I made on quite a few of them, the first probably 5, was I didn't do an outline. I had an idea and I jumped in, and then halfway through, or even towards 3/4 of the way through, I'm like, what have I done? How am I going to end this? This doesn't. So yes, and then you try and change things, and it's a disaster. So outline first, have 3 scripts, if possible, different genres, and get feedback on them before you go out and try and get the project picked up by a producer.
I feel like we've just done day 1 of the John V. Soto film school. You'll probably just start charging for stuff like that after this. So we know that have an outline. You've got Avarice in cinemas, thanks to Reading Cinema around Australia from December 8. Your next movie's a Talking Guinea Pig film. I think we've sorted everything out here, mate. It's been fun talking to you.
Great. Thanks for the time, Simon.
Congratulations on Avarice. It's a great movie. Good luck with it.
Excellent. Thank you. Cheers, buddy.